Sorry?
conquest of colonies دوت الكويز.
Conquest and colonies. Yes.
and colonies.
Yes,
Okay.
conquest and colonies. This is the second lesson, guys. The second lesson. This will be our quiz. I think someone is waiting in the lobby. Let me admit him. Okay. So the last lesson, guys, we were discussing the economic conditions over there in Europe, and they after the arrival of the new items from the new world to the European market, they established a new economic system, a new economic policy, which they named the mercantilism. Then later on, they changed the name or they enhanced a little bit to be the capitalism. So there was some kind of demand of the items, of the goods, came from the new world. But there was a problem over there in the new world. By the problem, I mean there was some kind of shortage in labor. Because as you know, my friends, that the natives, they faced the problem, which was the drop in population from 13 million to only half because of, who's going to help me here? Because of what? There was a drop in the population. Guys, wake up, sleepy. Because of the European diseases. Thank you very much, because they had no resistance regarding these diseases. So, one Spanish guy, his name was what? Who said, let's get some slaves from Africa. Do you remember his name? It was in the first lesson. In the slide of Viceroys, Conquistadors, Hernan Cortez. Do you remember his name? He was the last name. Okay, guys. His name was Las Casas. He was a Spanish priest who said that let's replace the natives with the African slaves. So after their drop in the population over there, and here I'm talking about the natives, the colonists thought about bringing some European workers at the very beginning, before thinking about the slaves. They thought about bringing some Europeans to work the land for them. By the work, I mean, guys, farming and mining. Okay, keep it in your mind. Farming and mining. So they looked for poor Europeans, enhance their conditions, who want to have some kind of a better life. So they were poor, so they had to pay no money. So they made some kind of a deal with them. They said that the European traders will pay the cost of their transportation from Europe to the Americas. In return, they have to work for a certain period of time. Let's say, in order to make it easier for you, let's say 5 years. So they have to pay for their transportation fees, and in return, they will work for 5 years. After these 5 years are done, they are free to go wherever they want to go in the Americas, in the new discovered land. And they call this kind of labor, they call it, guys, indentured servants. So the indentured servants were simply poor Europeans who want to enhance their life. So they came from Europe to the new discovered land. Okay? Of course, they were poor, so they had no money. So the Europeans paid for their fees, and in return, they will work for a certain period of time. Get the issue? Guys, please do not let me talk to myself a lot. By this way, I'll be mad. Islam Tariq.
Mr. I'm not all of the day no one is talking.
Speak up, Muhammad.
Mr. all of the day, all of us are not talking.
Speak up. I can't hear you well. There's something wrong with your mic. Speak
انت
up.
حضرتك ناديت عليا صح؟
Yes.
Yes, Islam. Wait until I see Muhammad Omar's question. Yes, Muhammad. Yes, Muhammad. You can type for me, Muhammad, if there is something wrong with your mic. Islam, can you tell me, Islam Tariq, what's the indentured servants? Indentured servants.
Indentured service.
Indentured servants. Yes.
مش عارف.
It's the only item that we had already discussed in this lesson.
Mister, can I say it?
What I have said, Islam, at the beginning of the lesson.
Can I answer?
Okay, Muhammad Ayman, would you please wait? Islam Tariq, do you hear me at the beginning of the lesson?
Yes, miss.
It's the only item that we had mentioned in our lesson. What I have said.
You said what is the Atlantic service?
Indentured servants, yes. I have told you something. Some people will come from Europe to work the land for the European colonists over there, right?
Yes.
Islam Tariq, wake up. Yes, Muhammad Ayman, would you please tell us?
Poor people traveled to the new land where the European paid for them. So
Paid for
they
their
have to work
transportation fees.
for their
Remember.
transportation fees, and they had to work 5 years for it.
For example, for a certain period of time, it was only an example, okay? They have to work for a certain time. Muhammad Omar, have you fixed your mic? Not yet. Okay, let's go on, guys. But keep in your mind that, of course, they will get the indentured servants from Europe. They have to pay for their transportation fees. Plus, they must supply them with food. Plus, they have to provide a shelter for them. If there is something wrong with their health, for example, guys, they have to treat them well so they can work. In general, the indentured servants were costly. It cost them a lot. So they have to look for alternatives. And of course, the logical alternative was the African slaves. So here is the African continent, guys. Okay? Now, use your mind a little bit. From which place in Africa they can get the slaves? Before asking you this question, let me tell you something about the African continent. Ironically, guys, although it's the richest nation, the richest continent all over the world, by the richest continent here, I mean it has a lot of natural resources, diamonds, uranium, platinum, all of the precious natural resources are found over there in Africa. But ironically, it's the poorest continent until now. So here is Africa.
Why
From
is
which
this?
place? Sorry?
Why is this? Like, they do have
Why?
resources to sell and trade with.
Why? Because of corruption, because of wars, because of civil wars. Later on in our course, inshallah, especially in the third quarter, we're gonna discuss a lot of issues regarding the African continent, and I will tell you some amazing facts about this continent. Ironically, it's rich, but what we can say, leave it until the third quarter. For now, for the Atlantic slave trade, from which place in Africa they can get the slaves? Use your mind a little bit. They can get the slaves from Egypt, for example, from Sudan, from Ethiopia, from Madagascar. From which place, guys? Algeria. Here is the new land. Okay. So from which place? From the southern coast of Africa, from the western side, from the northern one, from the eastern side. East, west, north, south. From which place of the continent, guys? Sleepy. Please do not let me talk to myself a lot.
The northern side.
Northern side, from this one. So in order to get the slaves, they had to cross the Mediterranean Sea, then to the ocean, right? Or they can easily get it from the western coast of Africa, from this side. Here's the map, guys. So which way is easier to get it from the northern side? So they will get the slaves from here, and they have to cross the Mediterranean Sea through the Gibraltar Strait or the Strait of Gibraltar, then to enter the ocean. Or they can simply get it easily from the western coast of Africa. Logically, from this side. So it's gonna be close to their new land, okay? So the slaves, guys, came from the western coast of Africa, especially this part, from Senegal to Angola, okay? This was the main supply of the African slave trade, the western coast of Africa, guys, from Senegal to Angola. How do you think they will get the slaves from the African continent? By politely asking them to join them over there? How do you think? Use your mind here, guys. How do you think the Europeans will get the slaves?
Offering them to travel.
Offering them to travel. They will say no. I do
Contracts,
not.
you know.
Forcing them يا مستر.
I will not ask them. Enforcing them, in fact. Yes, they are slaves. They used to capture them, enslave them, put them in cuffs, or even tie the wrists and enforce them into slavery. Of course, you know your destination. You will not be treated as a human being. They do not want to go over there. They will simply kidnap them, capture them, enforce them into slavery. So they can simply, I'm here talking about the European traders, they can simply, guys, walk around the continent and capture any African they can see. Logically talking, of course not, because there are some African leaders in these countries. So they must have some kind of a deal, some kind of an agreement with these African leaders. So the European traders will get from Europe to the African continent, and they will try to supply some kind of European goods, some European inventions at that time to the African leaders, like firearms. So the traditional weapons, and here I'm talking about the Africans, they used to use spears, wooden sticks in their wars. But the European traders started to supply them with firearms and some European goods. In return, the African leaders will supply them with slaves. So here was one of the ways that they had some kind of trading from Europe to Africa, firearms, European goods. In return, they will get some slaves. Yes. And also the African leaders, guys, do you know what they did? They used to make fake wars between neighboring countries. So, of course, by making a fake war, you can get some of the captives. What's a captive? Who's gonna help me here, guys? A captive. What's a captive?
Hostage يا مستر.
Hostages, of course, or some of your enemy soldiers. So you can simply get them and enforce them into slavery. So from Europe to Africa with firearms. Of course, the Africans will be transported to the new land. What about all the raw materials here from the new land? Do you think that the raw materials will go to Africa or will go to Europe?
Europe.
Europe, of course. So try to figure out the shape here. From Europe to Africa. From Africa to the new land. From the new land to Europe again. What is this shape?
Triangle.
Triangle, exactly. We're gonna call it the triangular trade, guys. We're gonna call it the triangular trade. Of course, the first leg of this triangle, the European traders will try to supply the African leaders with firearms and European goods. In return, they will get the slaves. The slaves will be transported to the new land. Then all the raw materials found in the new discovered land will go directly to Europe. Sorry, what is this? Let me, yes. So here is the triangular trade, 3 legs. What's important in this triangular trade is this leg, the transportation. They used to call this leg of the triangle the middle passage. The middle passage was the way that they used to transport the slaves from Africa to the new land, to the Americas. Try to imagine the situation here. Of course, they had a certain amount of ships and they wanna put the slaves the maximum number the ship can carry. And of course, they used to put the slaves at the bottom of the ship, not on the surface. Why do you think? They used to put them the deck of the ship, not on the surface.
They are messed up.
Sorry, say it.
Not escape.
Of course, because they can simply jump in the water and they can go back to their home country. So they used to capture them and put them in a narrow places over there at the bottom of the ship. You can say that there was no room for them, that there was no space for them. So simply the Africans can neither sit nor stand. There's not enough room for them. The journey will take from 3 weeks to 6, according to the speed of the wind. Every couple of days, they used to get them from the bottom of the ship to the surface and ask them to dance. Even they play for them some music. Why do you think? Remember that they are slaves. They had no rights.
So they don't overthrow them when they go to North America and do their work.
What do you mean by overthrow them?
Like fight back and try to get their freedom and stuff.
By the way, they were captured. They used to tie their hands and legs in order not to fight with them, and in order to make sure that they will not escape. So their hands and their legs were tied, even with chains or with ropes. Okay? So why do you think they asked them to dance at the surface of the ship for in almost every 2 days? No hint? No clue?
For the Europeans' entertainment.
Entertainment. Remember that they had no rights.
لا, not
They
for the
treat
slaves, for the Europeans.
for the Europeans. It's a point of view. Good thinking. Who else? In order to make fun of them. Yani your friend Muhammad Ayman has a point of view. Omar Ahmad, what do you think? Let me hear your voice. Omar Ahmad, Rifai. Omar Ahmad, where are you? Omar Ahmad. There is no Omar Ahmad. Remember, guys, that I will. Oh, Omar Ahmad is typing for me a message. Maybe. Okay, Omar, it's for only 15 reals. You can buy yourself a mic. Okay, guys, let me tell you. They used to ask them to dance in order to make sure that they are still alive so they can clear the bottom of the ship and the dead bodies will be thrown to the ocean. Normally, 20% of the cargo will be dead. And remember that I used the word cargo because they treated him as property, as like goods, not humans. So, and there was a small and a narrow place at the bottom of the ship. So some of them were dead. In order to make sure that they are still alive and in order to stretch their muscles, so the place was overcrowded. The slave couldn't neither stand nor sit. Adjust yourself to the position. So in order to make sure that they are still alive and they are healthy, in order to be sold in high prices, they used to ask them or enforce them to dance. After they reach their destination over there in the new land. Of course, guys, they used to have auctions where they used to sell their. Who's in the lobby? Bahay. Why are you late, Bahay? Okay. After they reach the destination, guys, they used to sell them over there.
But I got to move.
Okay. Of course, keep in your mind that the slaves were normal people, ordinary people. And of course, in the African continent, there was some kind of education, basic education over there. And some of them were craft workers. Some of them were plumbers, carpenters, gardeners, and so on, even musicians. So they were ordinary people. Of course, if you have a craft in your hand, if you are a carpenter, for example, you will be sold in high price. On the other hand, if you can do simply nothing, if you are an ordinary guy, a farmer, for example, your price will be a little bit cheap. And also, there is another important point that maybe a family, like this one in the photo, maybe a family, by the way. The man and the woman will not be sold together. Maybe the male will be sold to a European colonist who have a farm or a colony in Mexico, for example. And on the other hand, the lady will be sold to another merchant or another colonist over there in Peru. So they treated them as property, and they give them some kind of a document in order to make sure that he is your own personal property, that later on you can sell him. Try to imagine the situation. So, of course, the males will go to farms, to mines, to any kind of work, while the ladies will stay at home for any domestic work, to raise up the children, for cooking, for cleaning, and so on. Until now, guys, do you have any questions? By the way, it's an easy lesson. And it's a short one too. We're gonna finish this lesson in 2 sessions, guys. Then later on, we have another topic, the scientific revolution, which is an interesting one, believe me. So until now, guys, do you have any questions regarding the Atlantic slave trade and the triangular trade? I can hear simply nothing. So this is gonna mean that everything is clear. Right, guys? Everything is clear?
Mr. The point where you talked about male and female and the trading between men and women, I didn't understand this part.
Okay, let me tell you something. If we have a look at this picture, here is an example of an auction. Of course, after the shipment, after the cargo comes
Alright.
from Africa to the new land over there, of course, the traders will sell their goods. The traders will sell the shipment. They have the slaves. So maybe it's a family, male and female. Okay, they are married and they have kids, their children. Okay, of course, they will not treat them as family. No, maybe the male will be sold to a European colonist who will send him to his farm in Mexico. On the other hand, the female will be sold to another one. They will not be sold together as a family. So the family relationship is over. Got the issue? They are not humans. They are not treating them as humans. They are treating them as a property.
Individual.
Yes, as a good, an item, a property. Okay, they had no kind of rights. Now the question, guys, for how long do you think the Atlantic slave trade lasted? It started at the 1600s. Okay,
2 centuries. 2 centuries.
2 centuries. Thank you very much. From the 1600s to the 1800s. Thank you very much. Okay. Sorry, I guess we will stop at this point. We have 2 minutes left in the session, but no problem. So we're gonna stop at this point and we're gonna continue this issue the next session. So thank you guys, and until we meet again, have a nice time, and remember to study for your quiz. Keep in your mind that you have an assignment and the quiz. The assignment regarding the previous lesson. It's only 2 or 3 questions, okay?
Yeah,
And
Mr. عملت.
When
Okay.
is it out, Mister?
sorry,
When is the assignment?
it's published already, and you have until tomorrow.
the one from last week.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
We're gonna publish the assignment, guys, on weekly basis in order to get your marks of the homework. Okay? So you have an assignment and you have the quiz. So I wish you all the luck in the world until we meet again. Have a nice time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.